Good morning, dear students. Today we shall learn about anti-colonial movements in Africa and political developments in South America. So first we shall learn about the colonization of Africa. So here you see the African coastline had been explored in the 16th century and a few European settlements had come about. So here the Berlin Colonial Conference of 1884 to 85 resolved that Africa should be divided into spheres of influence of various colonial powers. So here if you see means the war was between British and the Boers in South Africa. Actually Boers, uh, two the relationship between two British colonies of Natal and Cape Colony and the two independent Boer states of the Transvaal and the Orange Free State had been long unfriendly, very long time they were unfriendly. Actually, the most important problem was that the discovery of gold in Transvaal, which was in 1886, and the British miners they started getting settled over there, and because of which the Boers what they thought was they really asked for more tax for being here. The Boers taxed them heavily, apart from denying political rights. So, for this reason, Boers they started having war with them as some problem, some misunderstanding between these two Britishers and the Boers. And in the initially, if you see, means Boers were really good. They were successful, we can say. By the half of 1900, the Boer army was defeated, and actually this war was between 1899 to 1902. And the Boers took to guerrilla fighting. Already you have learned in 8th standard about the guerrilla fighting. Usually they hide among themselves behind the bushes or behind the mountain hills, and all of a sudden they come and attack. They jump over the army and attack. So here these Boers also did a type of a guerrilla fighting only, and this continued for 2 years. It's been said, and later on, you find in retaliation, the British destroyed farms and crops. So they set up internment camps for boy, women, and children. And shortage of food, medical, and sanitary facilities caused the death of 26,000 people, it's been said. So the British annexed two Boer states. And you can say in 1907, complete full responsibility was given to the Transvaal and the Orange Free State. And let's learn about national politics in South Africa. So mainly two major political parties were there, and that Unionist Party, which was mainly British, and the South Africa Party, which had largely Afrikaners, that is we call it as Boers. The first Prime Minister, Botha, belonged to the South African Party ruling the corporation with the British. So, but the militant section of the South Africa Party formed the National Party under Herzog. So, students, the South Africa Party, led by Smuts, secured 41 seats. And at this juncture, the British dominated Unionist Party. And because of it, they merged with the South Africa Party. And they gave a majority over the militant Afrikaners controlled National Party. Next, racist policy against the blacks. And earlier you have learnt about some sort of discrimination in India. You might have heard about it, and even in Africa, such type of discrimination was also held over there. It was going on there for so many years. So the Afrikaners pursued a harsh racist policy towards the blacks and minority Indians, and the black people were not treated well. They were treated as slaves, you can say. So in 1923, an act was passed to confine the native residents to certain parts of towns. In 1924, elections were won by the National Party with the support of labor movement, composed mainly of white miners. So, actually, this act was passed in 1924, prevented blacks from striking work and from joining trade unions. So during this time only we come to know about a famous, very famous person, Nelson Mandela. So you might have heard about apartheid in South Africa. So here also racial discrimination was going on over there, which was against the black people. He really fought for the people, and he was a great man. And for his act, he was there in the prison for 27 years. Really, most of his life he was over there, and he fought for the black people, for their welfare. So let's learn about political developments in South America. So the European discovery of America, three centers before this discovery of America, three centers of civilization existed there in Mexico, in Central America, and in Peru, in South America. The Maya, the Inca, and Aztec civilizations were highly advanced, and many states were there in these areas of civilization. Well organized and strong governments existed. And around the 11th century, large cities formed into a league of Maya. That means actually it was a center of Maya civilization of Native Americans, American Indians. So though Manipal was destroyed towards the close of 12th century, other cities continued. And about the Aztecs in Mexico, it's been said they conquered the Maya country in the 14th century. And next, European colonization and its impact. So I already said about the Aztecs. So in the 16th century, when the Aztecs were at the height of their power, the whole empire collapsed before a handful of adventurers, led by the Spaniard named Hernan Cortes. So the Mexican civilization collapsed, and with it, the great city of Tenochtitlan also perished, completely washed out, you can say. This is one of the worst genocides. So next, you also see about the other famous conquistador. That means we call it as conqueror. Was also a Spaniard by name Francisco Pizarro. So who actually led the conquest of the Incan Empire. And so by the late of 18th century, you can say here the political freedom, administrative autonomy, and economic self-determination was articulated throughout Latin America. So all these places, you can look at the map which is given in page 23. So you know these places by this, you come to know where it took place actually. Actually, these struggles led to Torsten's Lou Overture during 1791 to 1804, ended in the Haitian people's independence from the colonial control of France. So let's learn about the impact of Napoleonic invasion in Spain and Portugal. And you all might have heard about Napoleon. He was a great emperor. And the Napoleonic invasion of Spain and Portugal in 1808 quickened the process of liberation struggle in South America. And already the spirit of independence was growing under the leadership of Simon Bolivar, called El Liberator, the Liberator. But in the case of Brazil, the Portuguese royal family, in the context of conquest of Portugal by Napoleon, fled from Lisbon and thereby assisted the transition of Brazil from colony to independent nation. So because of it, Pedro first renouncing the claim to the Portuguese throne, declared independence of Brazil. So you all know the place, you look at the map and you'll find the Brazil over there. The Aztecs were at the height of their power. The whole empire collapsed before a handful of adventurers, led by the Spaniard named Hernan Cortes. So the Mexican civilization collapsed, and with it, the great city of Tenochtitlan also perished, completely washed out, you can say. This is one of the worst genocides. So next, you also see about the other famous conquistador. That means we call it as conqueror. Was also a Spaniard by name Francisco Pizarro. So who actually led the conquest of the Incan Empire. And today, by the late of 18th century, you can say here the political freedom, administrative autonomy, and economic self-determination was articulated throughout the Latin America. So all these places, we can look at the map which is given in page 23. So in all these places, by this, you will come to know where it took place actually. Actually, these struggles led to Torsten Lou Overture during 1791 to 1804, ended in the Haitian people's independence from the colonial control of France. So let's learn about the impact of Napoleonic invasion in Spain and Portugal. And you all might have heard about Napoleon. He was a great emperor. And the Napoleonic invasion of Spain and Portugal in 1808 quickened the process of liberation struggle in South America. And already the spirit of independence was growing under the leadership of Simon Bolivar, called El Liberator, the Liberator. But in the case of Brazil, the Portuguese royal family, in the context of conquest of Portugal by Napoleon, fled from Lisbon and thereby assisted the transition of Brazil from colony to independent nation. So, because of it, Pedro first renouncing the claim to the Portuguese throne, declared independence of Brazil. So you all know the place. You look at the map and you'll find the Brazil over there. And they are very good in football also nowadays. Now next, Monroe Doctrine. So under this doctrine, you just see the fight for independence intense with the Napoleon fell in 1815, and you could see here Monroe, the president of the USA, came up with his famous Monroe Doctrine, and according to this, you know what he declared that if Europeans interfered anywhere in America, north or south, it would amount to waging a war against the United States. So this threat frightened the European powers. So by 1830, the whole of South America was free from European domination. So thus the US protected the South American republics from Europe. Next, disunity among Latin American nationalists. So, Latin American nationalists fought